Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying.
I'm about to blow it up like a volcano. Like a volcano. Blow it up. What you do, what you do, what you do to me? Can't you see what it means when you set me free? What you do, what you do, what you do to me? Can't you see what it means when you set me free? Another day to lose control. There's a fire in my bones. My sight gets blurry, pushing back the tears. Should take a leap of faith and face my fear. I blame it on the voices that are in my head, wondering if they'll ever be put to bed. Feels like I am close to reaching my wit's end, holding out, but I'm about to blow it up like a volcano. Like a volcano. Blow it up like a volcano. What you do, what you do, what you do to me? Can't you see what it means when you set me free? What you do, what you do, what you do to me? Can't you see what it means when you set me free?
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
What is up, fam? Back at it again tonight. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you're doing well. We are live currently on, I was about to say IG, not live on IG. We are live on YouTube, and we are also live on Rumble right now. So, show appreciation with both. Give me a like. Also share it to someone who might need this, whether it be this specific live or many of my several other ones. But tonight we will be discussing some more Homath. Homath is great. Love the guy. He does good work in this in kind of this self improvement men's space. I think it is interesting how he will do kind of his self maximize, which is basically his program to self improve. It'll be interesting how he approaches doing that, just because his whole channel is based off of him like doing these diagrams and these drawings and stuff. But no one knows what he looks like. He does this anonymously, so no one knows what he looks like. Can't see his face, so I think there's importance to be like, all right, does this stuff actually work? And like, a lot of it's based off of logic and it makes sense, but people want to see receipts at the end of the day. So it's hard to see receipts on this guy. But other than that, I really like the work he does. We're going to be breaking down another one of his most popular videos. We did the relationship zones last time, and tonight we will be doing the how attractive you are. So this one's a lot shorter, so we're going to go through the whole video and obviously chop it up and discuss it a little bit. I forgot to mention, I haven't done this in a while, but throughout any of my lives, if anyone has any questions on anything, throw them in the chat, or if you're watching this not live, then shoot me a DM or shoot me a message on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, Twatches, like Rich Cooper says, but like any of the socials. I have all of my socials here. Shoot me a question, and whether it's you have a question on whatever, on anything specific, whether it be dating, fitness, money, investing, any of the above, fashion, style, let me know. And also check out my link tree. You can sign up for my email list, and you can get my book list that I've compiled as well. But let's go ahead and hop into it. Not a ton of updates other than that. So let's go ahead and hop into this video. Let me make sure. Share my screen. All right. How attractive. All right. Hold on. An ad's probably going to play, so let me.
Did you know that
Let's get rid of this ad real quick. All right. Let's hop into it.
How do I know how attractive I am? It's the number one.
And I guess to put context behind this video, that beginning part, it's like how to determine like evaluating your own attractiveness level. I don't know if I can get it exactly to the frame. Yeah, here we go. Evaluating your own attractiveness and that of others as a social skill. So he puts this in a social context, and I think it's very accurate. Throughout it, he'll actually have different levels, like whether you know the person, or if the person's familiar, or if they're unfamiliar, because that determines the attractiveness, at least to the woman. And he'll get into that, but I think it's really important for evaluating yourself. It's like where you see yourself. Generally speaking, obviously this is generally, so every individual is different, but a lot of people tend to rank themselves higher. This is both men and women. On average, generally, like I said, I think women would tend to rate themselves higher than kind of their actual level of attractiveness. Just because when they think of attractiveness, they think of everything. It's like your personality and the inside and how good of a person you are, how nice you are. That determines attractiveness to a woman. But from a male perspective, that's not necessarily the case. So that's why they tend to rate themselves a little bit higher. And men, on the other hand, some men rate themselves a lot higher, but they typically rate themselves a little bit lower than what they actually are. But there are definitely a subset of both maybe attractive guys who think they're like uberly attractive and they think they're more attractive than they actually are. And there's a definitely a good amount of guys on the lower end of the spectrum of being unattractive, where they think they're arbitrarily more attractive than they actually are. Because they always complain and be like, oh, why am I not getting girls? Or why am I not able to get dates? Why am I not able to exchange contact info with girls? And situations like that when they're typically probably either doing something that's really weird or awkward or creepy, or they're not as attractive as they think they are, so they think they're to the level of attractiveness where they can get certain caliber of girls, which obviously isn't the case. But let's go ahead and hop into it.
How do I know how attractive I am? It's the number one question I get since starting the channel. I'm going to give you 2 rules to find out, but first let me explain.
Daddy Noel, let me explain. He actually hasn't done one of those videos in a while, I think.
This is my how attractive diagram. It's new. I included a guy and a girl evaluating themselves and each.
So this is kind of what he has so far. If you even follow Home Math a little bit, he actually does have a version 3 of the relationships one, which is the video we broke down last time. But as far as I am knowledgeable, this is still the attractiveness diagram. He hasn't changed this. I could be wrong on that, but from my knowledge.
Each other according to the standard female delusion chart. It's based on examples of relationships and the power dynamics that structure them, so you can get a sense of how people assess their own value and trade it with others. Basically, what is this person giving to their partner or target partner, and what are they getting in return? This is what I think we should all be shooting for, perfect 50-50, and also admitting that we are average.
I love how he says that. It's like, ideally, this is what it should be. Obviously, that is not the case at all. But that's definitely what we should strive for, just because anything other than that, and he'll talk about kind of what actually happens in reality, and it's definitely not good. At the end of the day, it would be great if a 6 could date a 6, or a 3 could date a 3, or a 10 could date a 10, or a 9 could date a 10. Maybe vary ever so slightly, maybe one or 2 points in either direction. But that really keeps the balance of stuff. But that is not how the actual dating scene and relationship scene in reality actually works, as we will see.
I included the attractiveness bell curve with the not people zone built in. That is why most guys don't get attention. That's why.
So we talked about this in the relationships, the zones, relationship zones video, where it's like, you have to really meet a certain threshold as a guy to really, he says this like as a person, or be noticed as a real person. And he kind of has like the ghost thing. It's like you're below a 6 or something. It's true. It's I've been binging a lot of Michael Sartain content recently. Been aligning more and more with kind of what he's saying, but it's true. It's like a lot of women, a lot of girls out there will be like, unless you're a certain threshold of attractiveness, like I don't even see you as an option. So you're like, obviously you're like, yeah. I don't want to say obviously all women are like this. There are definitely some women that will be like, they literally don't even see them as a person. Like, think of the McDonald's cashier. What did he look like? How tall was he? Like, what kind of hairstyle did he have? Like, most people can't even remember because they're just there, like existing, but you don't really like recognize them or like acknowledge them, other than them. It's the McDonald's cashier taking your order. Whereas on the other side, it's like, yeah, actually not no other side, but that's to women. And men, on the other hand, it's somewhat similar, but just like, oh, that person's not really attractive. And that, kind of going deeper into that kind of gets into status, and it's not what this video is about, but it's true. You have to meet a certain threshold as a guy to really be an option. I would say the same, honestly, for a woman. It's like, to meet kind of the threshold, obviously, this is just speaking to like the average guy. Like, you have to meet like especially if you want to get the guy that you want to get. This is not including like, if at the end of the day, if you're like a 3 in attractiveness, like you can probably still get a 3 level guy. But most of the time, a 3 level girl is probably looking to get like a 6 or several points above that level guy. Either that, or like they've hooked up with them, or They've gone out with them and stuff like that. Uh, but ideally, it should be like equal, or you date across instead of dating up.
Why there's a second average here. That's Ryan Gosling. That's the average of the men that count as people. I included the ways that we evaluate each other. There are things that everyone likes or doesn't like. There are things that people usually like and don't like. And then there are personal preferences, and then a reminder of how to use them. And finally, a reminder that not everyone has the same opinion. I've got
This is a big one, just because not everyone's taste in like attractiveness is the same, and this is across different people, different cultures, where you grew up. Kind of like, obviously we all have some biological innate signs of attractiveness that we are naturally attracted to. It's like the waist to hip ratio for like women. It's just like they have a big enough like hips to, you can tell that they can like healthily or like birth a child and be healthy and stuff like that. It's just natural stuff like that. You tend to, that's why guys tend to like the curvier girls, that figure, just because in a biological sense that means that they can have the ability to birth like healthy children and stay healthy themselves. So there are like general stuff like that, but lots of people have different tastes, because you think of, there's some girls that are just like, oh, why are you dating that kind of guy? And you're just like, it like, kind of blows your mind a little bit. But some people just have different tastes. Like some girls like, well, majority of girls like white guys, or some girls just only like black guys, uh, like Asian guys, or Latinos, or polys, or something like that. Everyone has their preferences within this whole idea of attractiveness. So there could be like a guy who, maybe like a white guy who's like 10 out of 10, arbitrarily like very attractive, but the girl's not into white guys at all. So to her, he's like like a 5 or something. Personal preference. That's kind of how that fits into the spectrum.
gotten this from up here, and I have gotten this from down here. I depicted a variety of relationships. This is an Elon Musk, Andrew Tate type situation. He has a lot of money and power, and so he doesn't have to put in much effort. Here's an example.
And I love how he kind of puts in not only the attractiveness level that each of these people are on, but the amount of effort that they have to put into acquire and maintain a relationship with a certain level of attractiveness of the opposite sex. So, like you said right there, level 10, like Andrew Tate top G guy, who's super rich, super charismatic, probably relatively good looking as well, if not very good looking. They don't have to put in very much effort to get the attention of, say, a certain caliber of girls. Now, obviously, if it's a top echelon girl, even if, well, if he's a top echelon guy, he probably doesn't have to put as much effort as, say, were this level 8 guy or level 7 guy. And honestly, those level 8 and 7 guys, theoretically, or realistically, that's a better term. Theoretically, everyone should be equal and date across, but realistically, wouldn't even have a chance with the 10 level girl. So I do really like how he kind of puts the meter level of how much effort this type of caliber or the attractiveness of a person that they have to put into. Let's continue.
Example from an old video I made. She doesn't want none of that unless you're attractive. She says, "Don't catcall me unless you're a 7, by which she means 9. This is a relationship I was in. That is a picture of me when I was good. I spent some time with somebody who I liked, but there was a large attractiveness difference, and so she tolerated a lot from me."
That is a classic example of a guy who's just like, he's very attractive, and you kind of, you're going out with a girl that's like, maybe like honestly like not super attractive, but she's like super nice, super kind, and she's just like treats you so well, and it's just like, it's super nice to have that. So he's putting literally like very little to no effort, but he's so attractive that this girl's willing to kind of put up with that and do all the things, put in 95% of effort, because that person is so attractive. And it's definitely vice versa as well. It could be for a very unattractive guy who's like dating like a pretty attractive, like hot girl. They're putting in so much effort and they're maybe not as attractive, so the girl's like putting very minimal effort in, but this guy's doing all this stuff for her, the flowers, and it would almost be like a sugar daddy like relationship if it was reversed.
Here again is what most people should be shooting for, on the same level, each putting in half. Here's another example from my TikTok. He was in a relationship with someone who wasn't putting in anything. As you can see, it does not matter how hard he works, she wasn't ever going to change. And finally, at the bottom,
Sugar daddy relationship is exactly what I was talking about. You notice that he had like, I'm pretty sure, a dollar bill in his hand, so it's like sugar daddy.
I have a reminder that it doesn't always have to be 50-50. As long as everyone is happy with the situation, somebody who is maybe of a little lower value can put in more, and someone else of a little higher value can put in less, and it can work out. You can do something like this if you're okay with it, and if you're not okay with doing something like this, then you have to just not do it anymore. So basically, this would be what someone perceives about their value, and then how much work they're willing to put in for what they perceive about their partner's value. Sometimes people
Yeah, so this kind of puts stuff into perspective of not just attractiveness level, but relationship dynamics as well. Just because, and at the end of the day, it's like what people are willing to like. I don't want to say put up with. I don't. In some cases, that'd probably be the appropriate term. Where if it's like that 8 level attractive dude dating the 4 level attractive girl, the guy's putting in 5% effort, the girl's putting in 95% effort. Yeah, that's kind of like putting up. She's like putting up with all the shenanigans that this guy's doing, and vice versa for if it was a guy and a girl. That's I would say call putting up versus this like 60-40. It's more like balancing out. Like obviously, like you said, ideally it would be 50-50, and honestly the best relationships I'd say is like, and it's all not always going to be 50-50 equally all the time. It's not like, all right, I did 50% of the work, like today it's your turn to do 50%. It can vary, but it needs to average out to be like 50-50, but each person is willing to put in, I think, 100%. That's where I've seen relationships thrive the most, and not really keeping track of it. But for this instance, kind of look at everything holistically and doing an overview of everything. I think it's a very applicable demonstration.
will say something like, I know a guy who's a 2 who has a girl that's a 9, and that's not true. It's just that she perceives something in him that equalizes the value transfer. So people don't have a value, they have a perceived value, and everyone perceives it differently, and how attractive you are is the average of how you are perceived.
See, that is really important to understand as well. It's like there's a perceived value about you, but depending on like your qualities and your looks and stuff like that, to different people, that perceived value is very different. So, for one person, for example, like girls that I get a lot of attention from, they're really into like brown guys and the dark features and stuff like that, tall, dark, handsome, and they're like very attracted to that. So it's like I get a lot of attention from those girls. But then there's a lot of other girls that I might be attracted to, but they're in the tall, like skinny, white, blonde guys. It's just all perceived value and perceived attractiveness.
It's not all looks. I once said that I know where I am with women, but not with each woman. I've gotten, again, a variety of responses. That can make it hard to tell where you are, and that's why you have to pay attention to feedback. When I started getting in shape, I noticed that more women would smile.
So yeah, this is actually very important as well because you have a lot of these guys specifically, and trust me, I've been through this process as well. When you kind of like not really seeing much success, and you're like, all right, I just need to grind, I need to work, I need to work, and it's true. Like every dude, I think, needs to work and grind like every single day to become better. But some people will be like, oh, I'm going monk mode or whatever, which is it was interesting. There's a tweet Chris Williamson said, and I think monk mode for like short periods of time, like for a month, a couple months, is I think a relatively good thing. Doing it for extended long periods of times is not. For those of you who don't know what monk mode is, honestly, that's actually a pretty good idea for a live. Just give me 1 second while I jot this down. Excuse me. But essentially, Chris Williamson in this tweet he had, he's like, monk mode is kind of like the baby in regards to what's this movement called MGTOW, which is like men that go their own way, or black pill is what they call it, if you're talking about the different color pills. And it's basically men that like have zero success with dating and women, so they like, because of that, they deem everything's against them and like there's no chance for them to have, so like why even try? So basically give up on seeking relationships with women, which is a terrible idea. You should never do that, unless you're just like bitter towards women. And if you are bitter towards women, maybe it is a good thing that you kind of stay away from them. But monk mode is kind of like a baby version of that, and it's a slippery slope. It can be very helpful for you, but it can also be very detrimental if you kind of do it for too long, because then you get reliant on like, oh, I like, it's basically the like men's equivalent of like feminism, to a point where it's like you get to the point where like I don't need a man, or I don't need a woman, but I kind of want one at the same time. So it can be a slippery slope. But you, so do the monk mode or whatever for a short period of time, and then you need to go on dates. You can interact with women, try, yeah, gain better relationships with women in general, and then you can see the feedback that you get, because I think that feedback is really important. Just because it's interesting to see feedback along your journey of self improvement, and just like you get more and more responses. I mean, I've seen that with myself, like in high school, like there was like one or two girls that I went out with, and like other than that, I didn't really have much success. Honestly, I didn't really have much focus on chicks back then. But as I've gone through my journey, just like working on myself and hitting the gym, getting in shape, becoming more educated, becoming more tactful with my speech, being able to talk and tell stories, and kind of playful banter as well. And as I acquire the skills, and then of course like my money skills as well, stacking some cash and putting into some investments, doing well for myself, and setting some stuff up for my future, and having a plan, creating that plan, having a vision for what I want to do in life. Then your feedback, the responses you get from women, you start to see that change, and it's really interesting. Actually, it's very satisfying, not gonna lie.
Smile at me, and they would pretend to be helpless, so I would do things for them, and then they would look at me on the street, and I never
Especially at the gym. That's a big one you get once you start like seriously kind of putting in the work in the gym, for sure. Just like we stare at the girls, not gonna lie, especially when they don't wear much, to be honest. Which, yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that, but it happens. But you want to get, yeah, it'll keep, it will continue.
made it up here, but some people do. So I think I'm here right now because these things have slowed down for me. So I was here when I was young, and then I put in effort, and everything changed, and then, time. Some women still like me a lot, but they have to get to know me first, which equalizes attraction.
So this next part he's going into, I actually really enjoy, and I think is very accurate, just because he'll go through the differences between men and women on perceived attractiveness, just because it is very different. Whether you're familiar or not to a woman is very important on how they see you and see your perceived value. Versus as a man, it doesn't really matter as much. It's like if you're attractive, then you're attractive. If you're not attractive, you're not attractive.
So that's feedback. For men, anyway. For women, it's different, but you have to pay attention to the feedback you get, and then look at what kind of person you're getting it from to know where you are. And yes, nothing is a kind of feedback, so if you're getting nothing, that is an answer.
This is very accurate as well, just because a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, why isn't this girl responding to me? Like, does she still want to go on a date with me?" One of my good friends, like, they had this very interesting experience. So, long story short, he wanted to go on a date with this girl. Like, tried to set up the date a couple times. Like, ended up falling through and being very complicated, which honestly it shouldn't be. It's like it's pretty simple, and the girl kind of making it complicated is an answer in itself. But I actually scheduled a date with her, and even before that, like we went to a birthday party, invited me. I went there and I met her roommate and stuff like that. And eventually, she was supposed to go on just a date with my friend, just one on one. kind of a day or two before, she texted me like, "Hey, can I invite my roommate with me and we can do a double date with you and your friend Mike?" And I'm like, honestly, that's not a good sign, dude. And he's just like, "Oh, but I'll just go on it. Like, I think we'll see what happens on the date type of a thing." And I'm like, "All right, let's do it." We go out and we like play games and with this like board game place, and we also had some snacks, and we dressed up like relatively nice, kind of like what I'm wearing right now, not just like a sweatshirt and stuff. So my date came out, and she was just kind of like dressed appropriately for the day. His date came out, and she was like in a sweatshirt and sweats, like, not like yoga pants, like sweats, and she didn't have any makeup on. It was just like, oh, it was not good, and it was not a good time. And then even afterwards, he was like, well, the date didn't go really well, but like I'm gonna see if like I'm gonna just like gas her out again. I'm like, dude, like you kind of have your answer there. You've had so many times. So literally no response is a response. At the end of the day, Rolo says this I think a lot, but the message is the medium. So it's like I think that I phrased it like that. But the message is the medium, or the medium is the message. No, that's what it was. The medium is the message. So it's like they're not responding much to you. That means they're like not very interested in you. Trust me. It's like night and day. I've had girls where they don't respond at all, and then I have girls that are very responsive, and just like night and day difference, like whether they're like actually wanting to hang out with you and stuff, or they're interested in you. So, no response is a response. Remember that.
But there are things you can do about that. You can self improve and you can get to know people. A lot of guys just go after strange women forever and they're like, why is it not working? It's because you're here when they don't know you and you're here when they do know you. So once you get your feedback, identify who you're.
See, this was what I was talking about, kind of what he was getting into. It's like, let's see if we can kind of go back to this a little bit. So this is like women rating men like they're not familiar with you. It's like zero, obviously, like you're a no one, um, or a three, and then honestly, if you're like under a three, it says like they don't even recognize you as an option. Uh, but it's like very hard if they unless you're like objectively very attractive and very charismatic, charismatic, or exude those type of confidence, that those type of abilities and skills, they're gonna rate you probably a very low perceived attraction. Versus if we go to where women rating men familiar, so this bottom one, I don't know why he was referencing that top one, but if you can get a little bit more familiar with women, for example, say there's this really attractive girl uh, in your friend group or something, or one of your friends' friends, and you start hanging out with them more as just a friend group. You don't ask her on a date. Uh, Maybe you flirt a little bit or whatever. Like get to know her, and she gets to know you. Her perceived value of you, like even though you're the same attractiveness level, actually goes up. So her attraction to you can go up just because she's more familiar with you. And that's just kind of how women work. Like they like to be they're attracted to familiarity, and they like to be comfortable and familiar in all situations. So you being more familiar with them being more familiar with you actually improves your chances a little bit. That doesn't mean I would say stay away from the friend zone. And honestly, do what Michael Sartain says, and he says friend zone the girls first, just because everyone wants what they can't have, and they'll actually be more attracted to you. But that's a different strategy, a different topic for a different day.
So once you get your feedback, identify who you're getting it from. When I got these looks on the street, they were from women in this range, which fits this model. And when I asked women for a number, they told me 8. It all kind of fit together. Let's talk about why this is difficult. Talking about attraction is emotional. Some people just don't see the feedback. Some people don't want to admit that they're average, and some.
See, this is a problem that a lot of people have, like you said, and honestly, like I had it for a long time, just because I was just like, I talked about this in my red pill journey, and kind of like how I became red pilled. But it was just like, all right, like I'm kind of doing this stuff, and like I'm like, I think to myself, I'm pretty attractive, but like obviously the results did not say the same. So I improved myself, and I definitely saw the difference between, all right, between my own perceived attractiveness level, which is always more biased when you're rating yourself, whether it's over biased or under biased, you're overestimating your value or underestimating your value. Very rarely people are like accurate and point on point. They don't have enough self awareness for that. Versus what other people see you attractiveness wise. But a lot of guys get blinded by that, and they just don't understand that just because it doesn't come in inherent, or it doesn't come really easy to learn for men, because we're very for us to learn, we actually have to do stuff. We don't just very quickly get stuff, especially socially. Women, on the other hand, it's like their social skills are far more superior than men. We are more physically capable, and we're bigger and stronger and faster, but they are so much more socially adept in social situations, building relationships with people. That's why people trust women a lot more, just because they can read the people's body language. They can catch cues that normal guys like us, we have no clue. That's why girls give clues all the time, and they can even tell when another girl is giving a guy a clue or a choosing signal or a hint or something like that, and the guy is oblivious. But a random girl who doesn't even know this other girl that's giving the cue or the hint, like, knows exactly what's going on. It's crazy.
People are just delusional. You can say you're a 10 until you believe it, but you cannot say you're a 10 until I believe it.
Scale of 1 to 10.
A fat fucking 10.
In the early days of my channel, a month ago, I gave a lot of women ratings. They got a lot of views.
Sorry, I apologize for a little bit of that language. I forgot that was in there. But a lot of these podcasts nowadays, they just focus on like how delusional these women are. And yeah, for the most, like for a lot of women, that might be true. But there's just no value in a lot of those podcasts. That's why I like kind of like other guys that provide value, and for men to self-improve, or even for women to self-improve, rather than just like, oh, this girl's delusional because she thinks that she can get this type of man when she does this, or when she like is posting all these like provocative pictures online and stuff. Like they provide no solution. They just highlight, it's just the red meat content is what we call it.
Especially when I was mean. Women volunteered to be complimented and insulted.
It makes you look like a whore.
I got reported for gender-based.
All right. I did forget. Let me skip to. And he's kind of just doing like a little bit of this now, kind of like proving these women delusional and stuff like that. Let's go to when he actually goes back to here. I think this is a good spot.
That would be a personal preference in personality. Also, different people value different things differently. I would rather have a 10 here and a 5 here than the other way around. So, judge by universal and usual preferences and not personal ones. Include everybody in the world in that age group, and include everything you know about them to get their total value. That's how to judge fairly, but not everyone will do that. So you have to remember how this works and then look for your feedback. Let's do guys first. I said I use...
Sorry, I thought an ad was going to play. But
used to get looks from women on the street when I was up here. That's rule number 1 for guys. If you're getting attention from women who don't know you, you're doing good. That's why very few men get all the attention on dating apps, because very few men look good to women right away. Familiarity evens things out, so if you know her pretty well and it's not working, she probably sees you as down here, and you should either adjust your expectations or work on yourself.
That is a great prescription by him, because it's like at the end of the day, it's just like you can't, us guys, we live in a day and age now where it's like we're not going to go back to kind of like the gender dynamics and how it was, say, like 50 years ago when our grandparents were around, and there was men did this and women did this. There's just a big mixture of stuff now, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. excuse me, especially with technology and dating apps, Instagram, and all this. Like, the internet changed everything. But you have two choices. Well, I guess you technically have three. You have two choices. You either lower your expectations. All right, this is just for people who are seeking a relationship. Like, the third path that you can go down, I wouldn't recommend at all. Is like, you just like don't deal with women at all. You go MGTOW, you go black pilled, and you like don't ever deal with women ever again. Which I don't recommend because that sucks. Like, women are pretty dang awesome. But you have two choices. You either lower your expectations or you improve yourself. And to be honest, like, even lowering your expectations, you're not going to yield much success, and honestly, you're not going to be very happy just because guys want to date an attractive woman. Like, at the end of the day, attractive woman who's kind, nice, feminine, beautiful, inspirational, FBI, like my guy Kevin Samuel says. So why not shoot for that? Like, you can do it. You just got to put in the work. That's the cool thing about being a guy. Like, a woman, a lot of your perceived value from a dating marketplace sense is your attractiveness. Like, honestly, if you're not a certain level of attractiveness, like, you don't really have much of a chance in today's dating market, especially if you're looking for a top tier guy. But as a man, you don't have to be the most attractive guy. You don't have to be the tallest guy. You don't have to be this Greek god guy. Obviously, it would definitely help if you had all these things, but you can like literally improve yourself. So you can't do anything about the color of your eyes. You can't do anything about the color of your skin. You can't do anything about your height. But what you can do is you can go to the gym, you can pick up heavy weights and put them back down. You can get some muscle. You can get some definition in your abs and in your chest and your back. You can actually fill out your shirts, you know. You can look good. You can groom yourself. You can get haircuts. You can style your beards. You can dress well. You can focus more on your work and building your business, or focusing on your profession, making more money. Therefore, you can afford a type of lifestyle that is attractive for a woman that a woman wants to be a part of. Essentially, you're building your kingdom and you're inviting a queen into your kingdom. It's simple as that. Why wouldn't you want to do that? If you have the ability to, like I said, it's going to take work. It's going to take time, but do the work, you reap the rewards, you're going to be happy. And that's kind of why I want to share this information with everyone else, just because I've seen myself go through a small process and a small journey. I'm still on a longer term journey where I haven't seen those long term or the benefits or the goals that I'm envisioning, but they're pretty dang big. So that'd be pretty sick to accomplish. Anyway, let's continue.
And you should work on yourself. I went from here to here and it changed everything. Guys down here tend to think that women are just difficult, but if you make it past this line, you get to be difficult, and I recommend it. This is a real thing someone said to me. I was basically staying at her place, drinking all her wine, hitting on her friends, and she was like, I can't get rid of you. It's a good thing you're so good. I don't actually recommend treating people this way. I'm just saying you can be valued. I will show you how to work on yourself in a video.
You know, you've really made it with women when they start treating you like really nice, and they start doing things for you, and you're just like, honestly, I don't really know you, but like, cool. You literally get a little taste. Obviously, not to the extent I think women, especially attractive women, get to the pretty privilege way better than men. But you get a little taste of that pretty privilege or attractiveness privilege, and you're like, dang, that's nice. I like that. And I will say too, just a lot of times you worked for that. It's even more satisfying because it's just like, you put in the work, you know what you had to do in order to get to your position where you're at right now, where you self improved, and now you're reaping the benefits, reaping the rewards, like I said.
Video called Self-Maximize coming up. Basically, do this first, find out who likes it, do this next, and try to end up here. Okay, now let's do women. Men have to know when they are here, and women have to know when they are here. I just told men that if you're getting attention from women that you don't know, then you're doing pretty well. Some women think this is true about them too. It is not. This girl is bragging that 108. If I think you're a 4, I probably wouldn't put you higher than here, but I might put you here. You have to know who feels this way about you and who doesn't, and this is how you know. You can't listen to what they say. They'll say anything. You cannot pick who you like and
See, that is very important for women just because guys honestly will dip down a little bit in attractiveness. So say a guy's like at like a 7 or 8 level, they will go out with girls that are like five, sixes, or sixes, fives, and fours because guys are definitely very physical creatures. So they'll do that for those reasons. But just because you go on a date with a guy or hook up with a guy or anything like that, to a woman, they think that's like, oh, I can lock down a guy that's like a 7 or 8 level. No, that's not the case. You want the guys that think that you're keepers, that you're like relationships with. That's when you can tell kind of like, all right, I can, and your definition of keepers doesn't just mean you go on dates with them, like I said, hang out with them, but it's like they bring you home to mom type of level, that level, and they commit to you. That's when you know you have a keeper. So keep that in mind, ladies.
Make him keep you. We do not work that way. You have to find out who wants to keep you and pick your favorite one. If you start with this, then you're not filtering out the guys who will make you end up here. Your level is the best guy who will commit, not the best one in your inbox. A lot of women hate that advice. They say, I'm not going to settle for less. And that's okay as long as you realize that if you're aiming too high, you might end up alone or with a guy who's got 5 other girls. All I'm saying is
It's true. So keep that in mind. Obviously, kind of in the dating scene, more I'm in, like more religious sense, it's not as as what do we call it, promiscuous as say like the normal dating scene, but nonetheless, it's very true. Like if you're having a top tier guy, he has many options. You might not have as many options. So you can't like at the end of the day, women, you can't have it all. You can't have the best of the best guy without expect, and you're not a top tier woman and expect him to just commit to you, unless like obviously you're married. But even in dating scenes, like he has lots of different options he can definitely take.
you don't want to be her, and you cannot be her just by saying you are. Other people have to agree. That's why we used to have marriage. It was proof of commitment.
Other people have to agree, especially specifically men, because like women all day will say, "You're 10, girl, slay, boss babe, like you don't need no man, like you're 10." Like that's not arbitrarily true. You have to ask men, and honestly, vice versa as well. Like I'd say even for a guy, like to really see what your real perceived value is, attractiveness wise, you have to get the opinions of both men and women. And for women, it's like mainly the man, because girls will hype you up and all this fluff and stuff.
And not just saying it. So you can tell who likes you by how much he's investing in you. That's time, money, energy, commitment. How much does he want to have a public relationship? How much does he want to show you off? How fast does he give up other women for you? If he's not giving you those things, he probably won't. So for men, you're looking at what kind of woman is giving you signs of attraction. Being nice is never going to change that. And for women, you're looking at what kind of man is giving you signs of commitment. And more attraction to him is never going to change that. I think we all know these things on some level, but we just don't want to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to admit where we are. But if you do, that's going to get you the best result. This is what most of us should be looking for. So here's those 2 rules I promised.
So his 2 rules, first one being you have to be realistic about your dating prospects and about your arbitrary, like perceived attraction value. And let's see what the other one is. Or rule one, your value to your partner equals energy you get minus energy you give. So that way you can have a good sense of, obviously, if you're putting in all the effort, because I used to fall into this trap as well. I would put in all the effort as the guy, and the girl would not like very reciprocate very much. So it'd be like, say, like 75 me, 25 her. And then you can kind of like tell, like, all right, this isn't really gonna work out. And like, yeah, worst case scenario, you would like eventually convince this girl to marry you. Like, yeah, I've heard too many stories, even from close friends, where stuff doesn't work out, and luckily they haven't been with that person long enough. Or even I've heard of stories of my siblings, my older siblings' friends, and yeah, they lose half their stuff to divorce, and no bueno. Don't want to do that.
Energy you get minus the energy you give. Don't expect that to change. And number two, you know how attractive you are by looking at what kind of person gives you about the same as what they take. So
That is a great way to see your actual perceived value. It's like, all right, who's giving you the equal amount of attention that you're giving them? And kind of how attractive they are is reflected in how attractive you are, just because there's an equal exchange. Don't be a simp. Simp, you're there's an unequal exchange of value and attention and of resources. Be the guy who's equivalent. Maybe even have more and have a couple options, whichever game you want to play. Okay, that's basically the end of the video. If you want to check the whole video, you can search it, or it's going to be in my description. But so at the end of the line, like advice for guys: improve yourself. Do two things. You either improve yourself, get better, get more attractive, work on your money, work on your game, work on your social skills, or you lower your expectations. And I can guarantee you, the first one, improving yourself, it will guaranteed get you results. Lowering your expectations, it's not guaranteed to get your results. Because we live in an era of inflation, not with just money in the economy, but in the dating marketplace as well. Women that are less attractive are thinking they can get guys who are even more attractive than, say, 20 years ago. So you got to think about that. Guaranteed you're going to see results if you self-improve versus lowering expectations. For women, you have to make sure you're putting in enough energy, or putting in the same amount of energy that you're receiving back. And the same honestly for both for men and women. And for women, don't fall for the delusion of you're a 10 and you deserve a guy who's a 10 because you say it. Like, at the end of the day, you do have to be at some threshold of attractiveness. So do what you can to be attractive, because that's the first thing that guys look at, to be honest. First, if you're attractive, and then comes all the other long-term qualities, like, are you nice? Are you kind? Are you feminine? Are you not arguing all the time? And a lot of women will take that advice and be like, oh, so I have to dumb myself down, especially very educated, successful women. No, if you think about that as dumbing down, or if you think of someone being kind and caring about someone and being peaceful and being happy, then I guess that's, you kind of have a weird definition of being dumbed down. But I will also say, it's like, at the end of the day, men are looking for, especially certain caliber men, are looking for attractiveness first, and then next, kind of mother-like qualities, like not necessarily just like, can you cook and clean and stuff like that, but it's like, are you genuinely like kind and nice, and are you cooperative, and are you willing to work as a team, instead of it's like I'm always right type of mentality. And with these caliber guys as well, like, to be honest, your degree and your money that you make is probably not going to mean too much. Now, it's great, and I think I just posted this on my reels, but all women want, and I do think it's true. I kind of know it's true, but like, they want the optionality. So it's like, they don't want to have to work, but if they want to work, they can work. So you have to be flexible at the end of the day. All right, that kind of concludes tonight's live. I'll see you again Tuesday. As with everything, trying to help you guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier. So go ahead, fall for more lives, fall for more tips, always stay pumped. Speaking of stay pumped, you probably see in the background I got a little box here, and has my bands. A little bit of band work, strengthened my shoulder a little bit. Supposedly the muscles in the back of my shoulder. I kind of had a minor shoulder tweak or injury when I first moved here to Texas, and my friend, he did a couple tests because he was going to be a PT. And he's like, oh, I think some of your muscles kind of from that injury weakened a little bit. So you're not as stable on your right shoulder, which is true. Like on certain exercises and movements, I'm not as stable as my right side versus my left side. And then also my knee as well. It's getting a little bit better, but it's definitely a process, and it's going to take time to heal. And loving my Oura Ring as well. Been getting pretty decent sleep. Last night was great sleep. Probably, honestly, going to just chill. Not looking at a screen. I've been looking at a screen all day today with posting content, doing my normal job, and this live tonight. So just going to chill, maybe watch a movie or something. Honestly, it's like more screen time, but chill, get some good night's rest. Tomorrow's Friday. Have fun this weekend, but also put in the work. All right, catch y'all later. You know what time it is. Cue the outro.